Hi, Jerry Mona with BoaterInput on a cold, wet, nasty winter day. It's a terrible day to be out in the water, but it's a great time to be thinking about buying your first boat or perhaps your next boat. You know, buying a boat can be a very exciting time for a family, but it can also be very stressful too, because we've all heard the horror stories that boats are nothing more than a money pit. Or perhaps you heard the acronym BOAT stands for break out another 1,000. Well, that might be true if you buy too much boat or if you buy the wrong boat or a fixer-upper. But in my personal experience, I found that owning a boat is actually pretty affordable. So in today's video, I'm going to explain the different costs of owning a boat, and we'll show you how to use a free cost of ownership tool that I created to help you estimate whether owning a boat is affordable for you and your family. When I bought my first boat many years ago, I really didn't know what I was getting into. I had just graduated from college, was making a decent income, and I just knew I had to have a boat. So, in fact, I didn't even have a tow vehicle at that time. Now, since that time, I have owned several boats, and I've been working in the boating industry for over 3 decades, and so I've learned a lot since then, which is what I'll be sharing with you today. Now, when you're looking at the cost of boat ownership, there are 3 types of expenses that you need to take into consideration. The first is the initial purchase price of the boat. The second is the other associated costs with the initial purchase, and then the third are the ongoing costs or annual expenses. And so we'll cover all 3 of those things next.
Okay, to help estimate the cost of boat ownership, I'm going to use the free calculator that you can access on my BoaterInput website, which you can see the address up here. I'll include a link to that in the video description. Now, if you have a specific boat in mind, then you can go ahead and enter the price in this first box here. Or if you know how much you plan to spend on a boat, you can go ahead and enter that as well. If you have no idea, then I suggest you go to a site such as boattrader.com and look for a boat of the type, size, and age that would work for you and enter that value in this box. So for this particular example, we'll just assume the purchase price is $28,000. Now, one thing about this particular tool, you don't hit enter, just click away in the screen after you enter a value. Now, if it's your first boat, you're not going to have a trade-in value, so leave that at 0. If you do have a boat that you're going to trade in at the time of purchase, let's say you're buying it from a dealer, you're going to trade one in, then enter the amount here that you think you could get for it, because that'll reduce your net purchase price, and it'll also reduce your sales tax. But in this case, we'll just assume 0. Next, you'll need to enter your sales tax rate for your particular area. Boats do require a sales tax in nearly every, if not all, states. In the state of Texas, where I'm at, the rate is 6.25%. By the way, I should point out that that sales tax rate applies regardless of whether you're buying it from a dealer or whether you're buying it from a private party. So enter your tax rate, and then that'll calculate the net purchase price with tax here. Next, you want to go to down payment. If you plan on paying for the full amount, let's say you want to pay for the full amount in cash, go ahead and enter that in here, and you'll see when you do that, the amount to be financed turns to 0. But if you're planning on financing your purchase, put whatever amount that you plan to give as a down payment in this box. And once you do so, you can see that it calculates the total amount to be financed here. Okay, so I'm just going to grab that, because what we need to do next is figure out our monthly payment. To do that, I've included a link here to a boat loan calculator. So you click on that, and once that loads, you go up to the top and just paste in that net amount, $24,750. That's the amount to be financed. We don't have to enter the down payment because I've already subtracted that from the total purchase price. For interest rate, let's just assume 8%, and for term length, let's put in 10 because that's a pretty common term for a boat loan. And then you hit calculate, and what it'll do is it'll show you your estimated monthly payment. So in this case, it's $300. So once you know that, you go back to the calculator and enter $300. And then click away. Now what you want to do is you want to go to the next category of costs, and that is the other initial expenses associated with the boat purchase. Okay, so we've already accounted for our down payment here, the $5,000, and that's broken out by the sales tax portion, and the remainder goes towards principal. But the next category we want to look at is titling. Now, a title on your boat is denotes the legal owner of the vessel. It's a one-time administrative fee. It's not a lot of money. It's usually about $100. May vary a little bit by state to state, but you can go ahead and just leave that at $100. Now, safety gear, on the other hand, are things like life jackets, anchor, lines, fenders, things that you will need with your boat. So if your boat is not already equipped with those things, or if it wasn't included in the purchase price, you'll need to account for it here. So in this case, I'm going to assume $500. Again, you can increase or decrease that if you wish. Equipment, on the other hand, are those things like water toys or tackle or additional electronics that you will want to add to your boat after purchase. So, for example, if you're buying a pontoon boat, you might want to buy yourself a tube, a tow rope. You might want to buy some swim floats, that kind of thing. Or if you're an angler, you may want to buy some rods and reels, some extra tackle, or maybe you want to upgrade the fish finder. Okay, so you need to make an allowance for that here. And so just put in an amount which you think would be appropriate. And then this line for initial repairs only pertains if you're buying a boat and you know that it needs some work done. Okay, if it does, put it in what you think it'll cost to make the repairs. If not, just leave that at zero. Once you've added all those items in there, you can see that your initial investment is listed down here. So in this case, it's $6,600. Once you have that, then you scroll down to the third type of expense, which is your ongoing expenses or your annual expenses. And you can see it's already calculated one for us, which is your total monthly payment. So this is based on the $300 per month that we calculated earlier times 12 months. So that obviously comes out to $3,600. Now, registration fees is different than title fees. So title fees denotes the legal owner of the vessel. Registration fee is an ongoing expense that enables you to legally operate the vessel on public waterways in your state. Now, again, the fee may vary from state to state, and most boat registrations last for a period of 2 to 3 years, but on average, it's usually around $75 per year, so that's pretty close enough for this purpose. Now, in addition to sales tax, which we talked about earlier, a few states like California also require a personal property tax. Now, this is what's known as an ad valorem tax, which means a tax based on the value of the property. And in most cases, it's around 1% of the appraised value. So if you're unlucky enough to be one of the few that have a personal property tax, you'll need to add that here. Again, most states, fortunately, do not have that. For maintenance here, I'm really talking about routine maintenance and periodic repairs. And the cost for this will vary based on the type of boat, the age of the boat, location, whether you do the work yourself or you have someone do it for you, that kind of thing. But for the most part, it's safe to we'll assume about 3% of the purchase price for your maintenance. Newer boats may be a little bit less, older boats may be a little bit more than that. Storage, on the other hand, will vary depending on where you keep your boat. So if you keep it on your own personal property, you can leave that at zero. On the other hand, if you're going to keep it in a public storage lot or keep it on a lift or in a marina, then you'll need to include the cost here. And that's something that you should be able to easily find by doing a Google search in your area. Insurance is roughly about 2% of the asset value. Now that may vary depending on the where you live, but for the most part, 2% is a pretty good assumption, and so that's already auto-calculated for you. And then the last expense area is your fuel expense, and this, of course, is going to vary depending on the size of your engine, how often you use your boat, how you use your boat, meaning whether you're going slow and cruising or if you're going wide open throttle, how much you pay for gas, that kind of thing. Now, for my particular boat, I use my little fishing boat about 50 times per year, and it takes me about 5 gallons every time I use it. And I pay currently about $3 per gallon, so that comes out to about $7.50. But to get a more precise estimate for your kind of boat that you're thinking of, you can just click on this link to the fuel consumption calculator on my site, and that'll give you a more precise estimate that you can plug in instead. So once you've entered all those things, it'll calculate for you your total annual expense, which you can see down here at $58.25. So what does that mean? So what we know is that if you're thinking of buying this boat with, again, initial purchase price of $28,000, in year one, you're going to be spending approximately $12,425. So that would cover your initial investment and your first year annual expenses. So a little over $12,000 year one. And then every year afterwards, you'll be, spending around $6,000. So the question for you then is, can you afford or are you willing to pay that $12,000 up front? And can you afford that $6,000 each year thereafter? So that's a decision that you need to make. And if it's more than you want to spend, then you can go back and obviously go through the calculator once again and choose a lesser priced vessel.
So here is a link to the cost of ownership calculator that we went through in today's video. I'll also leave a link to it in the video description where you can access that tool for free through my BoaterInput website. Also, if you like today's video, do me a big favor and show me the love by clicking on that like button. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel to get my latest videos to help you purchase, equip, and maintain your boat. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you out on the water.